Before we begin, thank you very much to Autobot for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the support. It means the world to me. Thank you everyone for helping to keep this channel afloat. You'll excuse me, this video is likely very late. I'm still sick. I am still battling through whatever bug I managed to catch. And it took quite a few rounds of aspirin to feel good enough to record the video. So, excuse me if I'm a mess. And excuse me if my voice is not quite there. But I do appreciate you sticking through it. Because you guys are still here for me, so I got to keep the grind going. So we're going to talk about Transformers. And we're going to talk about a topic that I've covered before in the opposite direction. I did a video before about finding vehicle modes for Beast Wars characters, and everyone asked me to start doing the flip side, actually coming up with beast modes for G1 characters. The one you see on screen is Generation Toys Red Bull. Creative name. I've got mine over here just kind of chilling out on my 3D printer. Love the toy, and it started a big discussion about them doing this to other characters. Well, you know, for me, yeah, there's a lot of directions you could go with it. But you know what? Let's just try to be as traditional as possible with this. So, for the sake of this video, I decided to keep as close to G1 rule or Beast Wars rules as possible. So we're looking for mostly mammals that the Autobots are going to turn into. And to keep this video from being an hour long, we are going to stick to the original G1 cast of Autobots. No Dinobots, no Skyfire, no nothing like that. It's just the original crew of the Ark. And I'm going to try and pick ones that are close in characterization. And I'm going to try and keep their visual identity present. Which means I've got a lot of white characters in this one. A lot of white animals. So you'll see. And I can't do that to all of them. So we're going to start, of course, with Optimus Prime. We can't start anywhere else. And we know, okay, Gorilla. I didn't want to do Gorilla. And I didn't even want to do Lion or anything like that. I wanted to go like, let's just... He's supposed to be the biggest, most powerful Autobot. So let's try the biggest animal you can. I have selected an elephant. For they are the strongest land mammal and the largest land mammal. There are Transformers that are, you know, larger than Optimus Prime, but if we are looking for a powerful land animal that Optimus could transform into, I feel like this is about the best thing you could possibly get. Not to mention, like, even like the fact of the colors, you know, you'd have to get all the red and blue from the robot mode parts, but you still have the gray from his trailer. So there is some semblance of like the actual G1 color here. And you can outfit them however you want after this. You know, you could have a cart, you could have like, keep in mind, like there's no, you know, you also have options for like attachments to these. So you could find some ways of working their color in or working in some mechanics. I have a few ideas for that we will share just for fun. But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to keep identity as close as I can here. We'll move on. We will move on to Jazz. And I've selected a Lion for Jazz. He is second in command for the Autobots. He's basically like field commander. Not that he was ever depicted that way outside of the first 3 episodes, but you know. He was supposed to be high ranking, so I wanted to give him a stronger animal. It is an animal that can appear in white, so we can actually hold to that. It's a quick animal, so it works for his vehicle mode. And yeah, like as far as like savanna animals, like, you know, like elephants don't make easy prey. It takes whole hordes. It'll take a whole pride of lions to take down an elephant to feed everyone. One-on-one, a lion doesn't have a chance. So I've kind of worked out the scheme there to make sense of why, you know, a Lion would go to Jazz. Makes sense to me, at least. Okay, here's one I like. For Ironhide, we have selected the Brown Bear. Again, we keep the color scheme. We keep it as close in color as we can, because I got news for you. There's only one red mammal out there. So, and even then, it's more orange than red. So we have to come as close as we can. A lot of these red characters end up brown on this list. But yeah, it keeps a very large, powerful profile, which is important for Ironhide. I think it's a really. I almost went Rhino. I almost went with a Rhino, which I probably should have just to give this a little bit more variety. But I wanted to keep Ratchet in mind too. And while there are like brown rhinos, they don't reach the reddish hues that a bear can do. I just really like the idea of a bear transformer because we've had very few of them. And then that would lead to Ratchet being a polar bear. So again, you keep the repaint. I've done this as well, where a lot of these characters that have like built-in repaints, I have made sure that they have an animal equivalent that could actually be redone into them as well. So I could have gone with a brown rhino and then made it like a white rhino for Ratchet. Went with the bears instead. Kind of breaches Polar Claw's territory, but I don't think he mind. He's not doing anything with his territory anyway. And me growing up with G1, I kind of view Wheeljack and Ratchet as a pair. So when I wanted to figure out Wheeljack's, I wanted a smarter animal because he is the genius on the team. But I also wanted it to be something similar, something that could be found, relatively close, or at least, make some sense with Ratchet. So I settled on an Arctic Fox. I mean, aside from the fact that it's, adorable, it gives him a white animal to transform into, and it does give him some kind of loose connection to Ratchet, to where the two do kind of look like they go together, as like the doctor and the scientist duo of the Transformer team. You'll notice, yes, I've gone to a lot of like polar animals, because hey, there's a lot of white characters in G1. Just like a lot of robots in white color. So I needed something. That would lead us to the next one on the list. And that would be Prowl. And I can't have Prowl be anything but an animal that goes on the prowl. So he had to be a wolf. Again, we've chosen an Arctic wolf. So he does manage to keep his color scheme. I mean, if you want to be really pedantic about it, he even keeps that little tip of black on the front end of him. Hey, look, it's funny to me, okay? But yeah, like, this is one of those where I mean, the name itself had to dictate what the beast mode was. So like, there's other characters I almost made wolves, and I actually almost made him a snow leopard to work the white and the black in. But ultimately, I have to think about the repaints, and I have to think about Blue Streak. So if I'm going to make him a snow leopard, that leaves me a little option for Blue Streak. So he had to be an Arctic wolf, so Blue Streak could be a gray wolf. Now, in this little bubble that we are working within, this makes all the sense in the world. However, once we get into a Season 2, you have to figure out how a wolf ends up in blue and red. I'm sorry, Smokescreen. You're a little bit trickier to figure out. Now, let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, let's get out of the Arctic. Let's get out of the Arctic, and we'll pick some animals from warmer climates. Let's do Sunstreaker. And Sunstreaker definitely wanted a savanna animal, wanted something really fast, obviously. So sometimes the obvious choice is the correct choice. We have made him a cheetah. So you get the speed, you get the yellow coloring, but more importantly for Sunstreaker, you get a very cool looking, fashionable beast mode. Because that would be top priority on Sunstreaker's list. You will notice with this list, we are not trying to hold to Beast Wars standards. Obviously, this is encroaching on Cheetor's domain, but it's the animal that fits. I'm sorry, it's just the animal that fits. So we work within our limitations here, right? So it works for this situation. Here's one I really like. Just to add a little bit of variety, we're going to go into Trailbreaker. And Trailbreaker gave me a few options. A bull came to mind, which I guess he could be a bull as well. But in this case, I decided let's throw some equine in and make him a horse, because that fits the name Trailbreaker. It also works with the color scheme. Uh, and it does give a little bit of variety to our mix here. I was toying with like the idea of making him a bull, making him a bison, but bisons aren't technically there's no such thing as a black bison. Like there are bison that are where their fur grows in so dark it looks black, but no. Uh, this is about as good as we can get. Also, had a thought. When we get into Series 2, and we have to think about hoist, well, how do you get green into a mammal? There's no such thing as a green mammal. I thought of doing him as a brown horse, so a repaint of this, except with the robot mode head remolded with green. And then you give him a pull cart. So instead of having just like a bunch of tools and equipment in the back of his truck mode, instead he actually has like a green cart full of like orange equipment. So you still have that functionality. And then remember, hoist is a bit bulkier than Trailbreaker. So that gives you the extra bulk for his paunch. That gives you a way of adding the green in there. Puts the tools on his back in robot mode. It's a fun little workaround I thought of. It's fun. I thought it was a fun way of doing it. Now there's one more equine I want to throw in, and that was a zebra. Because there is no such thing as there's no zebra in Beast Wars. So I wanted to give a few shots to animals that weren't in Beast Wars at all. Fortunately, we had a good candidate for one, and that's Mirage. So we know that the striping is some form of camouflage for him. It does make zebra harder to spot in the dark. But more than that, it's more likely that the striping on zebra is because it masks their numbers in groups, and it makes it harder for predators to single out one of them. It's very confusing. It makes the whole pack very blurry. And that means it is hiding. It is its own form of Mirage. Makes sense to me. And this was like a moment of genius for me because there's no such thing as a blue mammal. There's no blue mammal I could have picked either, so we had to fix something. But it works. It works for me. We're sticking to sticking to the more the African animals, though these exist in Asia as well. Let's move on to Sideswipe, and I've decided Sideswipe's going to be my tiger. Again, because of the coloring, but also because I needed something that was fast. I needed something that looked really, really good, to kind of supplement the Lamborghini part. But also because at some point, and I did this one just for fun, because I wanted to focus on Season 1 cast, but, at some point, he's got to be Red Alert. That could just be a white tiger. See? Makes sense. There is one here that threw me off. Hound. What do I do with Hound? I ended up going the most literal route because what else am I going to do? Hound is the one I almost made into a wolf. Obviously, I can't get the green. There's no such thing as a green mammal. So I had to work with something. You know what? It works for his tracker status. It's too spot on is what it is. It's too spot on, but it's all I had to work with. In the comments below, if you can think of a better alt mode for Hound that is still like a land-based mammal, let me know, because there's really not a whole lot for me to work with here. Let's move into the mini-bots, because the mini-bots gave me some interesting choices. All right, so we move on with Braun, and Braun has to be a turtle. It might be because his color scheme and his color layout is the same as a Ninja Turtle. Admittedly, it might be that. But also, it just kind of comes across that way. Especially if you get the kind of turtle that's, the greens and browns, and you can make it work. You can actually make him look really good as a turtle. Also, I checked his stats just before. His speed is a 4, so I think I'm justified in giving him a turtle. It just seems to work for him, though. You look at the robot mode. He's got a big backpack. That backpack might as well be a shell. We have Windcharger up next, and Windcharger is, again, one that gave me trouble. Small-ish land mammal that's also red. Okay, digging deep here. So again, I decided, let's just have fun. Let's just have fun with this one. Makes no sense naming-wise, but can I have a red panda? Can I just have a red panda transformer? They're so adorable. I would love one that turns into a robot. Please? Please? Again, here's your one mammal that's actually red. And even then, I would argue he is mostly an orange, like an orangish shade of brown. But, it's as close as we can get. And again, smallish animal. We have Huffer up next. And Huffer, just color scheme wise, attitude wise, just kind of struck me as a armadillo. Again, it just kind of works. The truck and the armadillo have this same like heavy armored kind of physique to them. Again, the color scheme works out. They're just about as prickly of a personality. So it works for me. It works for me. I thought it worked. The next one I cheated. Remember, I'm trying to stick to Beast Wars rules where the heroes had to be mostly mammals of some kind. But this one, like, I spotted this animal for gears, and I couldn't shake my head off of it. So let's make him a poison dart frog, cause it's literally his color scheme. How could I not? And again, personality-wise, if you've met Gears, if you've heard Gears, a poisonous animal is not too far off. So I absolutely think this works. Weird choice, but yeah, it works. And this is going to end on the last two mini-bots, and this is where we have the hardest problem. Bumblebee can't be a Bumblebee. Number one, because trademark things, you can't name it. You can't be that literal with the naming, because that's a no-no legally. You also have the fact that that would let him fly. You can't give him. I'm trying to stick to something that's natural for his alt mode, so he can't fly. All right, so what do I do? And I didn't want to break the rule again by going like a beetle, because that's the next obvious thing. But again, beetles can fly, so it got tricky. It got really tricky, and then I had to keep Cliffjumper in mind because Cliffjumper's got to be similar, because that's the whole gimmick. So here's what I decided on. Something that works in color, works in cuteness, works in shape. I've decided on a hedgehog. That works for me because it's the same round, bubbly shape. It's adorable, so it kind of works with being kid appeal for Bumblebee. Again, the naming scheme makes no sense. We're not worried about the naming scheme here. We're just worried about what works for that character. And that does mean that we do get Cliffjumper to be a porcupine. So again, they keep in similar areas of the animal world, just like they kept very similar in car shape in the toys. But Cliffjumper gets to be something orangish, reddish, and still similar to Bumblebee, but different, right? So there is your original 84 cast of Autobots. I don't need to think of beast modes for the Dinobots. I almost threw in Jetfire for fun, and Jetfire was going to be like some albatross, some gigantic white bird or something, but that is what I have for you. Let me know in the comments below if I got it right or wrong, because I'm sure all of you have your own idea for what animals these characters should be. It's all in good fun here. And as always, I will see you next time.